final scene of Act 2 is fairly short compared to a little bit of a lengthier Scene 3. And it is with Ross and some sort of old man, an old Scot. Maybe he was involved in politics at some time. But they're talking about what has happened because of Duncan's death. So the old man says 70. So he's saying in the last 70 years, I can remember well within the volume of which time I have seen hours dreadful and things strange, but this sore night hath trifled former knowing. So he says, in all my years that I've been alive, which has been, quite a long time, I've never seen anything as strange or as horrible as this night. And Ross is like, ha, good father, thou seest the heavens as troubled with man's act, threatens this bloody stage. So he's like, look at the skies. It looks like they're ready to open up and send chaos onto the night. By the clock, it is still day, and yet dark night strangles the traveling light. So it's it's daytime, but the clouds are dark and heavy, so it looks like it's nighttime. Not even the sun is shining through. He says the darkness does the face of earth entomb when living light should kiss it. So he's like, shouldn't light be here right now? Like, why is it so dark? It feels not good. Okay. So Ross also feels that something is amiss with the world. The old man says it's unnatural, and by him saying it's unnatural, perhaps again, this is the Weird Sisters doing something, right? We never get confirmation, but it's well within their abilities to screw things up, to cause a little bit of chaos. So he says, even like the deed that's done, so even like the murder that was committed, it's still strange. He says, on Tuesday last, a falcon towering in her pride of place was by a mousing owl hawked at and killed. So it says a falcon, that's Strawn, the predator of the skies, was killed by a little owl that usually eats mice. So that was weird. And then Ross says another weird thing. He says, and Duncan's horses, a thing most strange and certain, beauteous and swift, the minions of their race, turned wild in nature, broke their stalls, flung out contending against obedience as they would make war with mankind. So these horses that Duncan had, who are beautiful and fast and nice and obey all the time and well trained, have not listened at all. They've broken out of their stalls, and apparently the old man says they actually tried and maybe succeeded in eating each other, which Ross does confirm, and he says they did. I saw it with my own eyes, and then he looks up and is like, okay, here comes Macduff. So Macduff, he kind of waddles up to them, and Ross is like, how's the world going right now, sir? How are things? And then Macduff's like, well, I see you not. He's like, can't you see it for yourself, how chaotic it is? And then Ross says, it is known who did this more than the bloody deed. So he's like, do we have any more details on this? And Macduff seems to confirm that he believes that it was those guards, because he says those that Macbeth has slain. So the people responsible for Duncan's death, Macbeth has killed. And then Ross is like, alas the day, how terrible everything is. What good could they pretend? So, like, what good would it have done to kill these men? What did they earn from killing their master? And Macduff says they were obviously paid to kill their master. Malcolm and Donalbain, the king's two sons, are stolen away and fled, which puts upon them suspicion of the deed. So while Malcolm and Donalbain thought running away was the best idea to save their own lives, it has actually garnered suspicion that they were the ones behind their father's death. And Ross says, like, that goes against nature. Thriftless ambition that will raven up thine own life means, then 'tis most like the sovereignty will fall upon Macbeth. So they're saying basically, like, how could ambition lead these to taking their own father's life, right? It's almost a commentary on Macbeth as well, right? Macbeth is like a son to Duncan, so how could he take Duncan's life? And then Ross says, looks like the sovereignty, the crown, the king will fall on Macbeth. So Macbeth is actually next in line after these two sons. Who would have known? Macduff said he is already named and gone to Scone to be invested. So Scone is the place where he's going to be crowned, and Macbeth is actually already on his way to become King of Scotland. That's a quick transition. Ross says, where is Duncan's body? Carried to Comkill, the sacred storehouse of his predecessors. So that is where they bury all the kings, and it is the Guardian, so he's going to be buried. Ross asks Macduff if he's going to go to Scone. He's like, are you going to go to see Macbeth coronated as king? And then Macduff's like, well, no, I'm going to go to Fife. So he's actually going to go home and figure things out here. Then Ross is like, well, I'll go with you then. And then Macduff says, well, you may see things well down here. Adieu, lest our old robes sit easier than our new. He's like, let's hope that nothing gets worse. Ross says, goodbye, father, goodbye, old man. And the old man says, God's benison go with you and with those that would make good of bad and friends of foes. So basically, hopefully, you can turn bad into good and enemies into friends. And that's the quick turnaround of the murder of Duncan, which allows Macbeth to be next in line and to become king. Good for him.